So let's quickly go to our Azure. And how do you log into Azure? You go to Azure portal. You go to portal.azure.com. You will have to have a Microsoft account. You sign up with your account eventually, whichever account you have in there. And once you sign in, you will see an Azure portal. And this is the Azure portal, right? And you can see it. I have got some dashboard, and this is where some of the services I have around there. And if you click on this top left icon, you will see all the services Azure has to offer eventually. And you click on all the services section, you will see the resources that we offer in general, in compute, in networking, storage. You will see the service offer. Now, for us, what I want to do is I want to be able to deploy a virtual machine. So I can go and go to compute and select virtual machine, and that's all I want to do. Now what I do here is I want to create a virtual machine, so I will select okay. Now see how easy it's going to be to launch a virtual machine. And here I have to choose a subscription. On Azure, everything is based on a subscription. A subscription define what and how much you can use. So how, if you are on a pay-as-you-go model, your billing is going to be on how much you use, you get billed for that. So your subscription in Azure defines that as process. I already have a subscription which kind of happens to get that. I had few other subscriptions, you can see they all are disabled. I'm going to use one more thing. Then in here, you want to be creating a resource group. Resource group is a container in Azure where you want to keep all the resources in that and manage them. So everything that you would do in Azure has to be created inside a resource group. So any resource I want to create, they will be a part of the resource group. So I will create a new resource group and call it, let's say, webinar RG. RG stands for, an abbreviation resource group. And here you can define the name of the virtual machine. I call this as my VM. Simple. Choose a region. Probably I will choose, let's say, East US, for example. And I don't want any kind of availability. We'll keep it to default, and the secure type of standard there. And I want to choose an image of Windows Server 29. So I want a Windows Server to be launched. For me, in that case, the size here so basically the sizes of the VM will define that how much virtual CPU and the memory you can get in there. So in this case, we are using a D2S V3 machine that will give me 2 vCPU and 8 GB of the memory. So that's fine for me. I want to use now define the username. So I will say this is my Azure user. I want to define the password for this. So I will put a small tricky password here. I won't show it to you. And then it says allowed self-support because it's a Windows machine. I want to be able to do an RDP to this machine. And also I want to do, let's say, I want to allow port 80 to be able to access in this case and do the job here. Then you can actually go to the next part, and this is where I can define a disk, which is the basic disk about this. You have networking there, and in networking, I want to make sure that 1839 select. So you define networking, and there are a lot of things about this. We're going to keep it default. Eventually, in the management there, you can see that we have boot diagnostic. I don't have a boot diagnostic at this moment. So it's kind of, when your system boots, it's going to see that if everything is right or not there. And everything is fine. You do the spot, and we're going to validate this. So it is running a validation whether the configuration I've chosen are eligible for my subscription or not, or the user that I am using to launch this, is the user eligible to do all this process. You have to have an identity management system or the right permissions there, and that looks fine. Say that, all right, the validations are passing there. And what I would do here, go ahead and create this virtual machine there. Now, once this virtual machine is done, I can see on the notification side of the wall, I'm able to see the set of options. Now, we'll give it a minute to have it done. You can see the virtual machine is in process, and you can see this is getting created in this resource group. So behind the scene, there are different things which is happening. So if you go in here in this resource group, observe carefully that in some time we will have some resources inside this. There will be IP addresses, there will be virtual networks, all of these things will be getting created before we actually have you can see there is a network security group got created for me. So if I refresh it here, probably I should start seeing some resources momentarily. I can see there is a network interface got created, there's a public IP address got created, and deployment still in progress there. So if I go home here and go to my resource group again, just to, okay, where is the resource group gone? Oops, I want to use all of them, just this one. Apply, now it's a resource group. So if I look at this, you can see here now I've got resources. You see that, everyone? This resource now to run this VM, what I needed to run this VM, I needed an IP address, I needed a security groups, I needed a network interface like a NIC card. There needed a disk to this, I needed a virtual network, and now this VM is there. So you can see here in this case, my deployment is complete and all good to go eventually. So if I go to the resource, I can go from here eventually. You can see this is my VM here. Now in the VM, I can see how beautifully and easily connect to a VM. I can click on connect and say that, oh, do I want RDP? I will say absolutely, please connect it via the RDP. I will download an RDP file here, open this RDP file, and you can see this is here. I will click on connect there, and you can see this is asking for a password. And if you remember, I gave in a password there. Um, I want to see where is my password gone, and I hope I should be able to log in. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's not gonna log in. Why? Because I use a different user there. The user I had was Azure user, and that's a password. And you can say okay, and you will see that yes, I am gonna be able to log in to this virtual machine any moment now. And this is my virtual machine getting logged in. You can see here I've got a virtual machine, and a new virtual machine is there, and we can pretty much do everything in this process. Now let me kind of show you how will that work and operate. Now you can see the virtual machine is up and running. It's going to take a moment to kind of get completely set up for our side. And there you go. Let's see. And I will say yes. And I don't need a server manager, right? Because it's a Windows server, so obviously going to get a server manager. There's no need for me to configure this at this moment. So we're going to close this here. And you know what I can see? I can install a web server role on this virtual machine, and let's have a simple web server there. So I will open PowerShell here. And you can see this PowerShell. I will run it as an administrator. And I'll show you how quickly I can install a web server. And in this case, let me just increase the size for this so you can see what I'm trying to do in here. Okay, so let's to install Windows feature, and we call it as a name, and we call it as a web server, and I want to include all the management tools. It should be able to install the Windows feature there, and you can see it's doing its job here. Very soon I should be able to see the state as in success, and you will see I don't have to do anything, and I will go and look at the IP address that is assigned to this server, and I should be able to get a web server for me. Let's see and see how easily, how in just a couple of minutes we are able to get this done for us. And that is Azure Compute Services for you, where you're able to launch a virtual machine for you. Let this quickly install. Any moment we will be done. Almost there. Okay, very nice. You can see that's a success. So what do we do? How do we check if the server is up and running. Go to Azure here, go to overview section, and you will see that this server has been assigned a public IP address. We copy this IP address, go to a new page and paste in here, and bingo, you can see a web server running for you in a few minutes. This is the default IIS web server welcome page that is being displayed to you in front of you. And congratulations to everyone. We have created a new VM running a web server that is accessible via its public IP address. And if I had a web application to host, I could deploy application files to the virtual machine and host them for public access on this deployed virtual machine. And that's how you deploy. Now, in order for me to, let's say, avoid any additional cost, I don't want to do this. I can actually go ahead to the services and I will say to them, I don't need this resource group anymore because this will cost me some money. So I will select this and go ahead in this resource scope, and I want to be able to, I want to say delete this resource scope. Why? Because I don't need this anymore. It has done my job. So I will delete it, and that will eventually ensure that you can see here very soon this machine is going to go away. Why? Because we have just triggered the resource deletion process. And this is what I want to show you, that the moment we delete the resources, these resources will start killing anything that is, the moment you delete a resource, this machine is going to gone. That's if I delete a resource group, and anything inside the resource group is going to be deleted. So one of the important thing about the cost that you want to be able to figure out is to do this. So if you look at this as an option here, and And if I can, of course, this here, let's see how soon this goes there. I mean, we're still in the resource group page here, and you can see we are in, oh, we deleted that resource group, right? Seems it didn't get deleted or what. Okay, now it was, yeah, now it's deleting the resource group here. I hope it should be done. Yeah, now you can see this is gone. There we go. So the moment we did it, this is now virtually gone, and that's helped me to launch a web server. And that is the computer offering. Now, if you go on Azure and you go to our resources, and you can see the resource that I had in there. And if you go to all services, for example, go to compute, look at the services offering for compute you have. There's so many compute service offered, and we just explored one of them, that is virtual machine. So imagine if you do a full-fledged structured course, you will get exposed to a lot of these services there, and that's pretty much it. And that's the part I wanted to talk about, and we'll take a quick short break here. And once I come after the break, we're going to talk about I'll give some of the more demos here, and you will see how to create. So I can show you how to create a web app or everything around this. And remember, this is what we call as IaaS, infrastructure service. Now it will show you very soon what is the platform as a service. So you see, I had to create a virtual machine to launch my website. Imagine if I don't want to create a virtual machine at all, how do I run the show? For that, I will be using something called as app service, again, a compute offering there. I'm going to give you a demo here quickly. We'll try to create a web app that's going to run a Docker container, and a Docker container will contain a very simple welcome message. And for that, we're going to use something called as Azure App Services. Now, Azure App Services are actually a collection of 4 services. If I click on learn more, it'll open a page here. So this is a collection of actually 4 services, all of which are built to help you host and run the web application. The 4 services, they are the web apps, the mobile apps, the API apps, and the logic app. They look different, but in the end, they all are operating in the same way. And web apps are the most commonly used of the 4 services, and this is a service that I will be using in this demonstration there. So on the Azure portal, you have to open the Azure App Services, and from that, you have to click on Create an App Service, as you can see here. And what we're going to do here, subscription is fine, and we're going to create a new resource group again because I deleted the old one, if you remember, and I'm going to call it as my Docker. I hope you remember what Docker is. It's a container runtime web app, just some random name here, and we have the resource created, and let's give it a name of this, my Docker app. It's fine here. And you can see I have published a Docker container, and the region I'm using is, let's say, probably maybe, East US, let's say. That's it's okay. And here, you're gonna go and scroll down. There's a plan here. We're gonna not worry about the plan everything here. That's not something we're gonna focus on. You here we can see if it's an option of a container. Now here I want to use a single container, and we want to use a image source as a Docker hub here. And in this, when I use a public repository, I have an image that we'll be leveraging, that is this one here. This is an image to do this. We go and read the part here, and we are going to create a survey. We click on review and create, and you will see this will be done in a moment. So we'll wait for it to start now. And you can see now, if you compare with the virtual machine deployment, this is going to be much, much faster to do that. So this is where you will see in a moment now, I will have an application. This is going to be way more faster to do this. So to launch. So containers are always going to be much more faster as compared to a virtual machine, and you will see that as an option here. So let it quickly run, and for us, you can see deployment is in progress. We're going to wait for this, as we did last time here. And from the web app, now you can see the resource done. So we'll click on go to resource, and you will observe we'll have an IP address for us. In this right, this is my IP address. Click on this, and there we go. You can see we've got an Azure container instance running in momentarily. So that was platform as a service. And the same thing could be done with the Azure container. So you can actually create your own container. This was a container created by an app service. So all we did is just let the app service know, and it did the job for me. Now, what if I want to do and deploy a containers? We can actually do that. And for that, we're going to go back to our all services, go back to compute here, and we will see. So I will have container. Yeah, so container instances, you can see we have an option there. We can go ahead, create a container instance. So this time, this is a proper container services. We're going to use the same resource group that I just created for that, so that I don't have to do it again here, called as my new container. And this time we're actually leveraging a container service. Azure App Service behind the scene was leveraging this service only, and we're going to be using this. And I have an image here, and that image is the same one that I've leveraged. It's a Linux image, and everything is done. And this is fine. Let's call it DNS here to call it my new. You can define a container there, just this, so you can access your container on a URL, and you can look at this. This is fine. Let's review and create there. And you will see we would be able to get a container also deployed for us very, very soon. And that's going to take some more time. Let it run here. And you should be able to see that everything is going to happen inside a resource group. The resource group kind of becomes the extremely critical piece behind the process. You're going to be able to do that. And that's something which is there. Very soon we will be having, as you can see, this is creating a new container for me now. Let this happen here. And you can see this is done. We can go to resource, and we go to here. This container is there. I can copy this and open in a new tab here, and you will see there is go. So I have run a container where I've had an application which was packaged already into an image, which I pasted it from the Docker Hub, and you are able to run it. So you can imagine that how beautifully, how easily Azure is giving you so many offerings that can happen to get your job done. And that's how Azure kind of operates. And the same thing goes on the side of not just this, but if you go here, and if I go back to my resource group, you will observe that this is my container instance, right? This is the container I was having there. So if I go to Azure and go to my resource group again and go to this resource we created there, you can see the set of resources which are inside that. Now, if you remember when I was creating the Azure virtual machine in the first demo, one of the things was about choosing the networking. So Azure also, so remember the core fundamentals of it, there was compute, and then there is networking, in which where is my virtual network? I can search for that also, virtual network there. So in Azure, you have an option for virtual. If I go in virtual network, Azure networking is something which allows you to connect cloud and on-the-prem infrastructure and services to provide your customers and users the best possible experience. And once the resources move to Azure, they require the same networking functionality as an on-prem deployment. In a specific scenario, they may require some level of network isolation. Azure networking components, they give you a range of functionalities and services which can then help your organizations to design and build these cloud infrastructure. One of the things in Azure kind of gives you is a virtual network, which allows a lot of Azure resources like Azure VMs to communicate securely with each other and in the internet and even with the on-prem network. And a virtual network is going to be scope to a region. It's a regional resource, but you can have multiple virtual network from different regions. So you can connect them using a virtual network peering. So if you have a virtual network in Singapore and you have a virtual network in the United States, you can connect them together and you can have the machines talk to each other. So with Azure virtual network, what you get is you can provide isolation, you can provide segmentation, you can provide communication, and you can have these on-prem resource filtered do. So the way you would operate your on-prem network, you have Azure network there. So the way you do this, you can actually create a full-fledged network and kind of build your own set of resources. And all you have to do, and then to show you there. So if I go to the spot here, let's do this. So you go to let's create our own virtual network. Okay, we're gonna use a default one. So we're gonna go in here, and I want to create a new resource group called as, let's say, VNet1. Okay, and let's use it in the East US here. And we create this. We're saying, okay, let's create a virtual network there. Now, what I'm going to do here, what just happened there? Oh, we didn't give it one. I should call it as VNet1. Yeah, review create. Now we'll show you that how two machines can communicate via network. We've got two machines and they're going to talk to each other with the help of this virtual network. Now see the network is in the process. It's going to take a moment here. All right, it's done here. So what I'm going to do here, go back to all services, create virtual machine. We're going to create two virtual machines this time, okay? And what I'm going to do here is let's go in here and use the same, let's use this resource group, call it as VM1, and let's use East 1 and Windows Server 2019, fine here. Let's use it as an Azure user. I've got this dummy password for me, password in place, and all the good. Allow port RDP, which is okay. And if you go to next, this is fine. Now let's see networking. Networking, you can see we created this network called as the VNet1. Eventually, that was a network that we created for us here. So we're going to select this network, and we're not changing anything else, but you can see that this is the default network for us eventually, and we're gonna say that, okay, all right, good. And let's go to review and create here, and you can see how two VMs will start talking to each other because they're part of the same network, because we created this network all by ourselves. Create, and this will happen here. Okay, now I can go ahead and we'll do it again. I will go to compute, go to virtual machine, we'll create One more virtual machine, choose the resource group, well, a VM as VM number 2, and everything else is fine. Let's call it as in the East US, give it name Azure user, and copy the password for me. All good. Go to next. Make sure we use the right networking, same VM1. Okay, fantastic. Everything else is good. Let's review and create. Well, what I can do, if I go to networking here, it's VM2 IP, okay. That's fine. Just want to make sure that IP is correctly there. And create. You will see this is happening now. Now we'll go here. Our resources, we can click on this. You can see we've got the VM1 with us, and it should be in the running state for us, which is yes, it's fine. It's in the running state. What we do here, we're gonna go and we can connect to RDP like we did before. Download RDP file, open here, connect. Just I'm gonna do this Azure user, put in the password. Yes. And the VM is in the progress. Now it's all done. Now, before I make any changes, what I'm gonna do, I wanna make sure that the other VM is also up and running, which is the VM number 2 for me. Okay, VM2 is there. Let's see if it's from the running state. Yes, it's good. So we go back to this and close this manager here, open PowerShell. And let's simply do a ping to VM2. And it's saying that it's trying to ping in there because they're a part of same network there. Now you see it's not able to ping. Now reason it's not able to ping because normally ICMP's ping is an ICMP command, so it's blocked for sure. So what we do here is we go to VNet here and look at our virtual networking here. I will go to my VM1 and in the VM1 we go to networking here. And you can see only RDPs are allowed. So we add a tool from VM2 we're pinging. So we go to VM2 actually and go to networking in VM2 and we will try to add a rule for this. That in this case, the port range is, let's use all the ports. Just want to make sure that it's doing there. Because they didn't have that rule for ICMP. Now, if I do this, I've created a rule for allowing the VM2 that, hey, VM2, you should be able to, you should allow these rules here. So if you try this, VM2 should be giving us, let's see. And one more thing I'm gonna quickly do is go to the VM1 also. Go to networking, add a rule for VM1 in the outbound. Yes, so the protocol is allowed. Yes, that looks fine here. We should be able to ping to this VM. Let's look at the IP. We're pinging to 10.0.0.5. I hope that's the IP we're calling. VM1 IP is this, which is fine. VM2 IP, if we go here, is 5. So as you can see, we're going the right IP address there. We're saying any port, any protocol sources is allowed for this VM. So why this is causing the issue? Uh, let's take the IP address. Maybe this we try publicly also. That's weird. Right, this is not pinging this guy. Just being quickly, so we are using VNet1 just to make sure that we're part of the same VNet. VNet1, and there is also VNet. So this is the VNet1 here, go to networking. This is also VNet1, so they are a part of same network eventually. As you can see, there are two resources that are being a part of the same network. Yes, this is associated to VM1 as an IP address. This is also to VM number 2 as an IP address here. Yep, that looks fine here. For some reason, this pinging is not happening. This is unfortunate. Okay, let's see what went wrong here. Now, this is the part we troubleshoot things. Although nothing should have went wrong, this is a very simple use case. We've got one network and two VMs. And so you can see in the VM1, we are saying VM1 inbound, that any traffic coming to VM1 can come on port 3289, or anything that is coming from the same network is allowed, which is great. For outbound, we're saying, so let me look at the network security group also 1 second. Okay, I know what's happening. So the security group doesn't allow anything else. Fantastic. So the networking allows, but the VM has a security group that says that, okay, I'm not going to allow anything for you. So we're going to go back to our beautiful VM number 2 because we're pinging to VM number 2. Go to VM number 2 networking and click on the security group. And security group, we have an inbound rule here, as you can see, which does allow any kind of, okay, inbound security VM2 also says that we are allowing any traffic to this. So that looks fine too. I don't see any problem here. Everything else is allowed by default. Let's do one thing. Let's ping google.com. Okay, so you can see the ping is working now. Okay. And if I do ipconfig, so IP address is this, that is great. Let's do one thing here. Let's go to VM number 2 and try to connect to the VM here this time. Let's open VM2 also side by side. I'm going to put the username. That is going to be password. Okay, this is the machine here. So this is done. Now I'm launching another VM here for us. Let's just launch. Go to PowerShell. Okay, there we go. And ping VM1. There is something for sure in the networking that we're missing. So let's quickly see what's going wrong here. Because the pings are working, so got the IP addresses, great. Let me see one thing. I don't know what's gonna happen here. Unless there is something else I'm trying to figure out if I do one thing. We've added a rule to this one. That looks fantastic. So for some reason, these servers do not have ping, and I'm trying to figure out if it's the Windows server that's blocking it, because there is nothing that's blocking from the outside world. And these things sometimes kind of happens for us, so which is okay. Let's see, let's see. Let's do net stats for what a moment. This is gonna work, but okay, that's ping. So ping is working here, as you can see, which is good. Okay, guys, this is crazy stuff. This is such a small thing and kind of causing an issue for us. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Okay, now you can see if you're able to ping the PMs. I had just flushed the DNS settings here. This was a VM issue. So just to give you a heads up, so what was happening here that even though we've allowed the permissions, this Windows server has some internal firewall settings which were not allowing incoming. So I allowed the ICMP echo request. As you can see here in the other machine, we said that please allow the ICMP, even though the network was sending requests, we were not able to get the request. And that's how we communicate. Now you can see these two servers, because they're a part of the same network, they can communicate without any mistake. So if it was just a Linux machine, we wouldn't have to worry about these processes, but the goal is achieved and we are able to communicate. So with Azure, one of the important things that you do is you create machines, you create networks, and you can create a lot of things. So we can have services. If you go to services here, we got storage offerings. We can create storage accounts and store pretty much unlimited amount of data there. You've got services there where you can have databases. You can create your databases there, all managed options there. So Azure gives you a lot of offering that you can achieve there. And that was this whole beautiful webinar we kind of did there. So what I'm going to do here quickly before we wrap it up is to make sure that we delete trees. And this is a practice I want all of you to follow ever if you're ever going to use Azure. Don't run things if you're not going to use them. So I'm going to delete them. And that's what this webinar has to talk about. And that brings us to the end of this webinar in which we understood about Azure in depth and how Azure operates. Over to you, Leela.
Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to have a question and answer session, but before we get to that, we're going to take a quick moment and we're going to hear from Sognik. Sognik is our vendor marketing manager, and he's going to introduce a couple of promotions and webinar related courses.
Thank you, Leela. So I would like to take this opportunity to quickly take all of our attendees to some of the exclusive offerings and benefits of attending today's event, and some of the next steps that are waiting for them in their upskilling journey. So this is the event handout that every single one of the live participants or the attendees today are going to get. So feel free to explore this. You'd find the content section, everything is hyperlinked. You would be greeted with some facts about NetCom Learning as a gold learning partner of Microsoft. We have been a Microsoft Training Partner of the Year. We have serviced 80% of the Fortune 1000 companies. We are heavily involved with training deliveries with respect to the US military bases, and overall, you can see that we have a lot of experience and industry credibility when it comes to skilling. And we have some solution for whatever your needs are. If whether you are an individual learner, individual professional looking to just grow your career, or you are an organization, no matter the size, from a 5 or 10 member organization to multi-global organization with thousands and thousands of employees, we have a solution that would meet your skilling needs. All you need to do is get in touch with us and explore the possibilities. It goes without saying, we are there in the industry for over 23 plus years, and we have an authorized training partner status with all the industry leading vendors, starting from Microsoft, of course, but we are also authorized training partners with AWS, Cisco, CompTIA, PMI, Axelos, EC Council, Adobe, Autodesk. You name a vendor, we are qualified to provide you authorized training straight from the vendor, and with respect to your specific focus on your specific objectives, whether as an individual professional or as a business altogether. Now, as part of an exclusive benefit or privilege to all the participants in this webinar, we are providing you with the Learner Portal access for NetCom 365. We highly encourage everyone to please follow the steps. You can click on the link here and follow the steps for activating your account. Your account has been created from the backend, but you still have to activate with using your registered email ID that you used for attending this session. And you can log in through multiple ways. You can set up a password or use your Google or Microsoft or Amazon IDs to access. You'd also find a lot of materials there, including the participation certificates. You'd find the listing of upcoming events that you can participate in. So we highly encourage to go through and explore this learning portal. Now, let's quickly take you through some of the latest offers on Microsoft that we have live right now. So the first and the foremost is the Microsoft Skilling Program. It is primarily targeted towards enterprises, and it acts as the one-stop end-to-end upskilling solution. No matter the size of your organization, if you are an enterprise with multiple members in your team, you are eligible to participate in this program. Now, this is driven by NetCom Learning, and we are a Microsoft partner, and that means there are some exclusive benefits that you get to enjoy across the entire Microsoft training portfolio, across Azure, Security, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. Benefits include definitely you get huge exclusive enterprise discounts on your learning plan deployment. We have technology in place that enables you, if you are an organization with employees spread across multiple locations, we're going to make sure that you have the easiest and most convenient enrollment and onboarding process in place. You get both the learner as well as the decision maker access to the NetCom 365 portal that allows you, your management team and your leadership to really monitor and see the progress of individual learners and get some insights into the learner's journey and the overall training progress of your team. And it's a truly 360-degree upskilling program. That means across products, across the entire Microsoft ecosystem, you're going to get your skilling options. Please feel free to connect, get in touch with us. The initial skilling discussion session is free of cost. So without any financial commitment, you can just get in touch with one of our learning advisors and have a very informed conversation about your skilling plans and what would be the best way for you to approach and go forward. As mentioned by our instructor today, as part of the overall offering, you get a link to the official Microsoft ebook on the win-win of certifications. It's a powerhouse of information wherein Microsoft has conducted these multiple surveys across organizations, and you get the perspective on what are the benefits of certifying employees and having the upskilling and participating in this skilling process, both from the employee as well as the employer perspective. So feel free to go through this ebook. The access links are included in these handouts. As you can see, you have to just click on the read free ebook and follow the steps, and you'd be getting access to your ebook for free. Next up, we also have a promotion that is called the NetCom Plus. It is an individual learner subscription, particularly catering to the needs of individual learners. So if you are a learner, or if you are even a company with a specific size of team, and you want to empower each of your team members with a with the capability of pursuing and continuing their individual learning journeys throughout an entire year, NetCom Plus is the go-to solution for that. For just $2,999 per learner per year, for learners less than 10, if you are an enterprise or a team having more than 10 learners, you would be eligible for further discounted pricing. But for $2,999 as a standard price, you get access to more than 350 training classes, including 60 official Microsoft courses, and these are official VILT courses that you get access to. So across vendors, Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, Confia, you get 12 months worth of learning. It is a great solution. We highly encourage you to explore it or schedule a free call to understand more about this offering. We also have a learning passport. This is a great option for enterprises in particular. The NetCom Plus subscription is kind of locked into a specific learner, wherein the learning passport, it gives you and your team, your organization, that flexibility to train multiple employees of your team, across teams, across your organization, basically across the entire training portfolio of NetCom Learning. So we are talking about 4,000 plus official courses across vendors, valid for 12 months, and it allows you to increase your training fund value by up to 100%. So feel free to get in touch and explore and learn more about the solution if it is the right fit for you. Also, an exclusive offer right now, only valid till the 30th of June 2022, that is the end of this month. We have a security bundle offer going on for Microsoft, wherein you get the official VILT course plus an exam voucher, the certification exam voucher that we all learned about, the value it gets you both as an employee or as an employer, and an additional practice test, official practice test that prepares you to pass that certification exam for the first time. So this entire bundle is available across the entire Microsoft security portfolio, which includes the SC900, 200, 300, 400, the AZ500, and the MS500 courses. Feel free to explore these courses. All the code names of the courses have been hyperlinked. Feel free to go to these pages and explore if it's the right fit. And please pick a schedule that is eligible before the 30th of June to redeem this benefit. As already discussed by our instructor, this slide is a great value for our learners. Please feel free to go through this. The entire learning journey has been mapped here. complete with individual links. So every item here is hyperlinked. All you have to do is just click the one that you want to explore. You'd land on our landing page. You can go through the course outline, take a free assessment if you want to test your skills, if you're already on track for it, if you want to understand, do you need to take the course at all, please feel free to go through the free assessment on the individual course pages and you can continue your journey. Also, look out for our upcoming free masterclasses. We have two masterclass sessions coming up related to Microsoft, one in July and another one in August. Feel free to register for these events and we hope to see you then. That's all from my end. Back to you, Leela.
Okay, we will go ahead and jump right into our question and answer session. Which Azure compute resource can you use to deploy to manage a set of identical virtual machines?
Yeah, there's a service called as, so what we did here is kind of deployed two identical virtual machine, but instead of doing manually, you can use something called as a virtual machine scale set options, and it lets you deploy, manage a set of identical virtual machines.
Awesome, thank you. And the next question I'm seeing in the queue is Azure Resource Manager templates use what format?
So basically, templates are a way to kind of write your resources. You can use JSONs at the very simple to use, or maybe YAMLs, whichever suits for you.
Wonderful, thank
That's
you.
the answer.
So it looks like that is all of our questions. In addition to today's webinar, we have a lot of informative webinars that are coming up. So please go to www.netcomlearning.com/webinars/ to register for any of those. We want to thank you all for joining us today. If you do come up with any additional questions, please feel free to send them to us at webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. And we hope you all found today's webinar to be informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us very soon. Also, feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Once again, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vishal, and have a wonderful day.